right, guys, welcome to today's video together with Patrick Leonard, one of the sickest crushers in online poker and probably live poker as well. I'm really glad to have him here. It's going to be a different kind of format this time. We're going to talk about different kind of things. I don't think you need to be introduced, but for those who don't know who you are, give them a little introduction about yourself.
Sure. Like you said, my name's Patrick. I've been playing poker now for like 13 years, which whenever I've been doing podcasts like every year for like the last 6 or 7 years since I became a professional. And when I said I've been playing poker for like 6 years, it sounded like, okay, that's okay. And now
Yeah.
I say 13 years, it sounds really weird. So that's yeah, I've been around for a long time and hopefully still around for another 13 years, but who knows, I guess.
What would you have become if you wouldn't have become a poker player? What if?
Um,
What do you
I
think?
was a
Where can you see
journalist.
yourself? Journalist.
I was a journalist before poker. Yeah, I did journalism at university, and then I was doing like finance journalism in England, and then I got a job for
I remember.
pokerstrategy.com,
Yeah, you've been doing a
and
lot of videos. Yeah.
then I moved over to poker strategy. Yeah, but I would have been a journalist probably. Maybe poker, maybe sport, maybe finance. I'm not sure.
Didn't expect that, to be honest. That's very interesting.
Yeah,
You don't appear like a journalist to me.
I went for an interview for a poker magazine when I was like 21 or something, and the night before I grinded all night instead of doing like research, and I didn't get the job. But if I got the job, I definitely wouldn't have played poker professionally. I would have been this like poker journalist in London.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like lucky that I was lazy then or whatever. But yeah,
You went the right way.
somehow, yeah,
Yeah,
somehow.
definitely. I would like to kick it off with um, the current situation around the schedules, the guarantees, the rake. I think this is something that needs to be talked about. This is something that attention needs to be raised about. Because of course we all love the game, but I honestly, and I see all the discussions and the debates going on, I feel like it's kind of ignored, right? Because poker is still beatable, but it's going into a direction that is worrying, at least for me,
Mm.
with the guarantees. And of course, you're a party poker ambassador, right? So, but honestly, from my perspective, and we've been talking that a lot, and I'm involved in a lot of chats as well, I don't have the feeling that you're just trying to act in party poker's interest, rather in the entire poker interest for the poker community, for the game, trying to yeah, make an impact in that industry for for the benefit of everyone. And this is something that is really inspiring me. That's why I wanted you to have you here, because it's also not so easy to find someone that is not necessarily biased and just fighting for the interest of the companies that they're working for or that they're sponsored from. So um, whoever is watching, don't think, oh yeah, of course, Pats is defending Party Poker's interest and his opinion is very biased. I think it's not. And yeah, what do you think right now about the current situation? What is something that you might think needs to be changed? Something that is going in the wrong direction? Maybe something that is PokerStars doing wrong, Party Poker's doing wrong, 888, whatever. We shouldn't we shouldn't stay political correct here. I think it's very important to address all the problems that are going on right now.
Sure. I mean, one of the biggest problems is that there's only two sites, right? Like, there's only two main sites which offer like MTTs on a competitive basis. You have obviously PokerStars, which is the biggest site. Then you have Party Poker, which is the second biggest site, right? So Party Poker obviously want to be getting bigger every day, and Stars want to stay ahead too. So reputation is obviously very important. Being number one is like a very big thing for PokerStars. So right now they would want to do lots of things which will get rake for them because they want to get more runners, bigger guarantees, etc. So like a lot of interests will be often done from a business point of view rather from a player's point of view. And then from Party Poker, let's say for example, both tournaments start with 100 runners in a tournament, and then PokerStars add say two re-entries. Party Poker have two options. They can either stay freeze out or they can add re-entries. So if they don't add re-entries, then PokerStars will be like at least 50% bigger. Once PokerStars go to getting 50% bigger for re-entries, then more people will play, like more unique players will play because the guarantee will be bigger. Then straight away they'll end up with like 300 players. And if Party Poker tell themselves, okay, let's just do the right thing, let's just do freeze outs, then they're going to be one third of the size of PokerStars when they both started with 100 players at the same time. So it's kind of they both have very difficult interests because they both
Yeah.
want to be big and they both want to kind of outdo each other at some degree. But if you keep pushing it and pushing it, then you can kind of fuck both of yourselves over. Like you can kill the whole economy, basically. There's lots of just small things. I think the main problem with the poker industry is that most people who work in poker they don't really understand poker. Like they haven't been professional poker players. Like the perfect poker room manager or the perfect poker room employee is an ex poker player
Yeah.
who became not good enough to win at the games anymore, but had a small enough ego to understand that he wasn't good enough and wanted to stay in the industry because he really loved the game. And the problem is that not many people, after people have suffered huge downswings and huge like mental health issues because they've become a crusher to like a loser, it's very hard for them to continue to love the game and to care about the game. So you end up with a lot of people in positions of extreme power who've kind of grinded their way up from like customer support to like the next role, the next role, the next role, and they're like great people, great workers. Like they're really good, but they may not necessarily like understand the poker or maybe not understand players or not understand like everything. Like it's an example. We have a guy called Felix who works for us. He's absolute genius,
Yeah.
like
Great guy.
understands all maths models and this and that, and like he's really valuable for the company. But there'll be times where like we're discussing a player that we stake who's like doing something irrational, and he won't understand like how can this poker player be thinking like this? Like it's just so easy to think like logically.
Yeah.
And often poker sites will think the same about players, like let's do this because they want that, but they don't necessarily understand like the emotions of the player or what players want because they don't speak to them
Yeah.
day in day out. And that's one of the reasons why I started working with party poker is because every day I have this Discord channel with 100 poker players who are complaining about this structure, complaining about that structure, complaining about this schedule or that schedule or this guarantee or that guarantee. So I could kind of give party poker direct feedback from what their core group of players were thinking,
Yeah.
which I think is very important for a site to have. And I think Party Poker do listen to their players. Like I have a reputation at Party Poker for like busting people's balls, which I just basically I'm passing on the message of unhappy players every day.
Yeah.
So like if there's 1,000 players playing on the side right now in two tournaments, maybe 950 are happy, but 50 are unhappy. Now that's a great number. That's a great percentage of happy players. But my role is to tell Party about the 50 players who are unhappy. Whether
Yeah.
that be via Twitter, whether it be via Discord, etc. And I think most of the sites they don't have this kind of middle kind of man necessarily. Like I don't know if Dominic Nietzsche is like working with the poker room on the schedule. Maybe he is. I'm not sure. I'm not sure at PokerStars if like Lex is working with like the head of PokerStars tournament guys. I'm not sure. Like maybe I'm completely off, but it feels like there's not enough poker people kind of
It
involved.
should be, right? But that's how it's supposed to be, that poker players are being more involved with creating and optimizing the schedule, right?
Should be.
Yeah.
Should
Yeah.
be.
Fair enough.
It should be, and like I think also for a poker player, it's very difficult to like necessarily like understand small things because they just play poker as well. Like before I was a poker player, I used to do consulting with poker rooms. So like I went from being a journalist to going to poker strategy, and at poker strategy, I was working in the consultant department. So like Poker Stars, Microgame, Party Poker, whoever they would hire us, and we would kind of give them tips like stuff like Rush Poker, Zoom Poker, or this guarantee or that guarantee. We'd give them a lot of consulting. But I think there's just stuff that the industry does because they're not poker players. Like for example, nine-handed poker online. Basically, live poker was the big thing in Vegas. Like Mike Sexton played live poker in Bellagio, and everything was nine-handed. It was nine-handed because Mike and his guys they all wanted to play, but the room couldn't afford to play like six-handed because you need
Yeah.
two dealers, you need more space, more tables. So Mike Sexton went to the Caribbean, I think it was, or India or somewhere, and he developed party poker from scratch. And he developed it with people who didn't know poker at all, essentially. So he sat in a room and he was the poker kind of expert. And they said, okay, what is a poker table? And he said, okay, there's 9 people around the table. We play on the table, and there's one dealer, etc., etc. And he basically took everything from live poker and pushed it out into online poker. And it's pretty crazy that like 20 years after, we still have nine-handed poker online. Like
Yeah.
nobody likes nine-handed poker The only reason it exists is because Mike Sexton played nine-handed poker with Doll Brunson and all these guys in Bellagio, and then he told these Indian guys who were developing the software, yeah, this is how nine-handed is. But everyone know if you ask anyone, everyone prefers eight max over nine-handed.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
six-handed can maybe get a bit fast at times, but for sure, like if you ask like 90% of players, they will all prefer eight-handed to nine-handed. So this is just an example of how the people working in the poker rooms necessarily, they may not actually get poker and they may not understand these nine-handed versus eight-handed stuff. Like actually at party poker, every tournament is at least eight-handed or six-handed. This was change made around 1 year ago, 2 years ago, and yeah, so that's one thing I think is very good, and I think all sites should copy it. And of course, it's good for me that Party Poker do it and the other sites don't do it. But I'm a poker fan. I love poker. I'm probably going to be around here after I'm with Party Poker. I have like I care about my best friends too. Like I want them to have long careers and to be happy,
Yeah,
etc. So
yeah,
I want them to play games that they enjoy. Like
yeah,
for me, I can have like maybe a little bit of a role or a salary with working with a poker site, but I have friends who like their careers are almost being like taken away from them because of decisions, which isn't great to see for sure. I don't
yeah.
think.
Speaking about yeah, Poker Stars versus Party Poker and what's happening right now, clearly the new schedule, which I also tweeted on Twitter. I really like the new Party Poker schedule. And why do you think Poker Stars is reducing the guarantees so much? Do you think it's just lacking the players, not willing to take any risk and pumping out higher guarantees? What do you think? What is the strategy? What is the reasoning behind decreasing the guarantees so much? For example, the Sunday Storm, my favorite tournament, of course, of the week. Why did it was like 250K guarantee a few weeks or a few months ago. Now it's at like 150K or 120K. I'm not 100% sure, but it's a significant decrease in guarantee. And correct me if I'm wrong, the does it have so many less runners? What is your take on that?
I mean, I think it's a fact that PokerStars lose players every month. Like, I
Okay.
think if you look into the numbers, they don't either retain players or acquire players at like a huge rate. A lot of people can put this down to different things. Like, customer support's very different to what it was a year ago, I think. Like, if you send an email now, it's very different to how it was when you sent an email like a year ago or 2 years ago, I think. So maybe that's a reason. I'm not sure. Like I don't have all of Stars data, obviously, or like all the stuff which is going on there. But yeah, when you see the Sunday Storm has gone from 250K to 125K in like a few months, it's like it's pretty scary to see because if it continues at this rate, then it's not going. This is like a big tournament that people love,
Yeah.
So like if this is going down,
Who are
then
you
other
telling that?
stuff will go down too. Like big 55, 15K guarantee, big 109, 15K guarantee, or 12K, big 215, 10K. Like I think guarantees are like really underestimated by poker sites.
I
It's
do
like
think so too.
it's
Yeah.
probably the biggest marketing tool they have. If I remember I always look back when I was a recreational player,
You
what
look
did
at
I look
first
at?
place.
What inspired me? Why would I register a tournament? It
Yeah.
either had to be fun, something different, something unique, or it had to have a big payday where I was
Yeah.
excited to win that much
Yeah.
money.
Exactly.
If it's in the middle, it's nothing. Like I wouldn't register these tournaments if I was a
Yeah.
recreational. And I mean, Party has the same problems. Like during summer, when everyone's in Vegas, lots of loyal customers. When World Cup is on, like also our guarantees suffer too. And I can understand why we'd log on to Party Poker during some summer weeks and be like, "Fuck this! I'm gonna log off. I'm not gonna play for an 8K guarantee or a 5K guarantee or 15K guarantee or whatever it may be." But yeah, I mean, it's weird because like you could say that like stars could do way bigger guarantees, but like that if you ask anyone like to name the three biggest tournaments on PokerStars historically, they would probably say the Sunday Million, the Super
Yeah.
Tuesday, and something else. If we look at the two main ones, the Sunday Million, it struggles to hit the guarantee. Like it barely hits the guarantee, and they have like four re-entries, and it's also going down at like a pretty decent rate. And then if you look at the Super Tuesday, it was a 100K guarantee this week, and this is when a huge series is going on, and it overlaid. So like asking stars to make it 200K, which it probably should be, it's difficult for them to accept because it hit 90K instead of 100K this week. If you ask them to increase the guarantees during series, like they had a 2K on Tuesday, and it was pretty low guarantee, like 200 runners, and it overlaid by like 50K or something. So like asking stars to just increase their guarantees may not be like the best idea. I would work first of all on the industry kind of agreeing on what needs to be changed. So like for example, PSKOs and then vanilla tournaments. Vanilla tournaments is non-PSKO. Basically, they're two completely different kinds of players. Let's say that I'm a vanilla player and you're a PSKO player. If you're a PSKO player, you like to gamble, you like action, you want it to be fast. You're probably being activated or acquired through Twitch or maybe through a casino game or a slot game or something like this. If I'm a vanilla player, I care about good structures. I care about slow and steady. I don't want to gamble. I don't want to play against bingo players. I want, a nice schedule, a nice structure, a nice guarantee. And I'm probably going to be acquired by like a live casino, like a live like poker room, sorry, like a live card room. Maybe I've been like playing WPTs or something like this. So like we're completely different players, but the poker sites don't really treat us as different players. We both play nine-handed. We both start tournaments with 250 big blinds. We both have
Yeah.
similar clocks. We both so for me, I think PSKOs should very likely be like 80 big blinds deep, 1 hour of re-entry, unlimited re-entry.
That's a good.
Um,
That's an insane suggestion. Yeah, that's very
be,
good.
because what it is right now is you start with 250 big blinds and you can re-enter twice. So you're limited of how long for how many re-entries you can have. Sometimes it's once, sometimes it's never, and you can enter until 20 big blinds, which is
Yeah,
like
that's super.
by the time you've gone from 250 big blinds to 20 big blinds, a bunch of the prize pool is already out of the prize pool. So you're charging people the same rake for a prize pool which is less than someone who started 2 hours ago. Like it's a little bit unethical to do that as well. That's why I made Party Poker or suggested to Party Poker to decrease the rake on PSKOs, and every PSKO is 50% rake for lifetime now. So so yeah, I think
Fifty
PSKOs
percent less.
50% less,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
for all
Yeah.
PSKO
Just to
rake, yeah.
clarify that nobody's. Oh, what? 50% rake? What the fuck?
No, no,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
50% less rake, yeah,
Yeah.
than the industry standard. Plus, obviously, good rake back as well. So it's like 75% most likely
Yeah.
less rake, but whatever. But yeah, if there's a guy who wants to play PSKOs, like let's say you're the PSKO guy and you like to gamble and you're from Twitch and you're just here to have a good time, if you want to re-enter 20 times, that's fine. Like why should you be told you can only re-enter once or twice? Like the other people in the game enjoy that you're going all in with any two cards. Like they want to take your bounty.
Yeah.
Whereas in a
But it
vanilla
also
tournament,
protects you. It's you. It doesn't really make sense to put it in this way, but it's a little bit more of a responsible gambling because you gamble with like 70, 60 big, you enter with 60 big blinds, 50 big blinds, and you still have a little bit more EV than re entering 20 big blinds, 15 big blinds, where you clearly just get destroyed in terms of EV, but most players are not aware of it. So you literally
yeah.
take them by the hand and say, okay, we put a threshold or we put a limit here, 1 hour. And on average, if you have less than 60, 50 big blinds, you're not eligible to re-enter anymore, right? So
Mhm.
it's also a bit of a protection for the players who don't really understand EVs and ROIs and how it decreases with smaller stack sizes and re-entering with smaller stack sizes. So I really like
Yeah.
this suggestion.
So how it would go is, let's say PokerStars wanted to do this tomorrow. If they did this tomorrow, then they would have to decrease their guarantees initially, right? Because they're now going from like 4 hours of re-entry
Yeah,
to 1 hour of re-entry, right? So they would lose some money initially. Like long term, it would be great, I think, but initially they would lose money. Then because Party Poker are already like as big or like almost as big or bigger, depending on the tournament, if Party Poker kept their current structures, then it's very likely they would like get way bigger than PokerStars in these tournaments because PokerStars would do the right thing for the community, but they would fuck themselves. So that's like it. That explains the whole problem. Like, there's a change which should happen, but it can't happen because there's only two poker sites who are really competing, and they're both competing against each other so hard with so much fierce competition, so much rivalry, etc. That it's very difficult for one of the companies to do like very bold changes because they will fuck themselves up in the short term. The short term is going to be like 1 month, 2 months,
mm,
3 months, 4 months, 5 months,
I
six
see.
months. And like I do persuade Party to try to do as many of these bold changes as possible. Like decreasing rake straight away makes them make 50% less money. Playing eight-handed versus nine-handed, I think is a pretty bold change. And there's a bunch of other changes, like all of the main tournaments on Party Poker now, like the main knockout tournaments, like the Gladiator, for example, they're all six-handed. So we've gone from nine-handed to six-handed. I think six-handed is just like for PSKOs, it has to be the format. It just has to be the format because people want to gamble. It's all about getting bounties. You play button versus small blind more. You play cutoff versus button more. You play small blind versus big blind more. You create dynamics way more often.
Yeah, I
So
like
yeah,
that.
I think PSKOs should just be like they should mostly be six-handed. The reason why they aren't six-handed is because sites want players to multi-table and create them more rake, right? So like sites want you to play 10 tables instead of 5 tables. So they want you to play as many nine-handed poker, fold, 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 like rake, rake, lose a cooler, re-enter in the next tournament, like sites design their schedules for you to create as much rake as possible, but that's not the right way to do it, like it has to be designed in a way where people will survive, enjoy, etc. Because if
Yeah.
I was an amateur coming, let's say I'm on Twitch or I play roulette on Party Poker or PokerStars or wherever else, and I say, okay, this bounty builder, I can maybe get a bounty. It's fun. I can chase. I can gamble. Then I sit down and it's 250 big blinds deep. It's nine-handed. Everyone's playing so many
Yeah.
tables, so they
Yeah.
play super slow. I'm waiting for this guy from England or Lithuania or Hungary or wherever else to play his other decisions on all these sites he's playing. I would log off. I would never play again. But if
Yeah.
it was six-handed and some guys don't play who multi-table because they don't have the room, that's fine. Fuck them. Like it's completely okay. It's all about giving people a good experience who we want to keep coming back,
Yeah,
essentially.
and I really
Um,
like this approach because what I think 90% of all regulars, let's say we take all the winning players that right now debating about what can be done better and the communication maybe with PokerStars, Party Poker to optimize the schedules. The problem is that this group of people represents less than 1% of the entire population right now. We need to
mhm,
start thinking about what does the recreational player want, and that's exactly what you mentioned. And it's not necessarily about threatening poker stars or party poker. Hey guys, increase the rake, otherwise we're gonna boycott the games. Increase the rake back, sorry, or decrease the rake.
mhm,
No, this is to um, this is not necessarily the way to go. Even though there is always something to optimize, but the first thing we need to do is to make the games attractive for recreationals. This is 90% of the players. This is where a lot of most of the rake comes from. Even though we're
mhm,
playing a lot of tables, but this is also what the sites care about. Whenever, let's say, Run It Once, I think what they mainly focus is on marketing and getting recreations on their site because this attracts regulars. This increases the traffic. This is some very core principle stuff in poker and in industry. And when we reach the recreationals and we match their desires and make it very attractive and fun for them to play and a pleasant experience, then they come back, play more, maybe deposit more, and
mhm.
yeah, I think this is the way to go. And it's not necessarily yeah, pumping out or investing a lot of money. Even though I think with every change you have to sacrifice some profits, probably if you want to make some bold moves, if you if as you mentioned. However, I do believe we need to start taking more care about recreationals want, not what regulars want, and
Agreed, sure.
that's
But I
what I'm
mean,
missing right now a lot.
a lot of the regulars also will love the changes as
Yeah,
well. Like
true,
most of this
true.
stuff, like if you look at the Gladiator on Party since it's moved six max, everyone loves it. Like it gets almost like twice, 3 times as many people as the 2K like eight-handed or nine-handed on other sites. Like it's very people love six max. People love action.
Yeah,
Like even if you're nitty, you'll end up loving action because you'll just you get into it.
yeah.
And yeah, and
You can
also
still
if you
play
do,
tight. Like if you have everyone spazzing around, you can also in six mix just play tight and solid. You, for those who really just after the win rate and don't want to play fancy and gamble, there's still a lot of money to make in those tournaments. I
yeah, the ante
remember.
smaller because there's less people for
Yeah,
sure. You see
exactly.
the structure. Also, another thing which people don't understand is the structure in six max is way better than nine-handed. Nine-handed is so bad because you play so few hands
Yeah,
compared to six max. There's more tanking. There's more like tight range versus tight range. Like if you play kind of like EP versus hijack, free bet pot, it's complex. There's more tanking, pre-flop, post-flop. Like there's gonna be more people with just tough decisions. When it's six max, it's more like action just flies. You play more hands in general. So yeah, the structure of six max is significantly better than nine-handed. Actually, you
yeah.
play way more hands.
And I think for everyone that is playing online poker, of course there are a lot of players who just I want to play poker. I don't care. Take my money. I want to have some fun. That's all right. But I think a big portion of the players they also care about winning. That's why we play poker in the first place. We think we can win. And it's very important that not only the experience itself of playing, you have to start checking the schedule or checking the structure and estimate for yourself, can you really beat the structure? Can you really beat the rake? This is, I
Yeah.
know this is some very dry stuff and might not make so much fun, but you have to start thinking about that as well. And it's something that we're going to continue doing so here in the next weeks as well. That we discuss opportunities. And again, it's not hate against PokerStars, not hate against Party Poker, the poker sites. And honestly, I love them. They provided me with an opportunity to make a living out of it. And I'm not going to have communication with anyone that's PokerStar or Party Poker or 888 or whoever, Natural 8, they're shit sites, they're rigged, whatever, they're just trying to make as much money. Of course, they're companies. They're business, they have to run their business, they have to be after their profits. However, they're the ones that provide us with an opportunity. And if you think they're scamming you or they're rigged, whatever, then look for something else. It doesn't make any sense. Don't waste your energy or time on it, just move on. But we want to stay productive, positive, we want to make suggestions what can be done better. We're going to stay persistent, we're going to follow up, and we try to make an impact, whether it's through a YouTube video or tweets or whatever. And I think it's very important that we start talking about these things and make suggestions. And I think this is all what we can do from our side, and then see what happens. But I definitely don't want to look back in 5 years and say, well, yeah, I could have done something, but I was too lazy and I felt uncomfortable speaking about these things because yeah, you will get some hate, of course, from certain people, but it is how it is, and I think we need to
I
talk
think
about
what you
this.
said was very good about people want to win. People want to have fun, but they want to win.
Yeah,
Um,
of
I
course.
remember hypers. There used to be $82 hypers on PokerStars. I would
Yeah,
always play them even on Sundays.
yeah. There
They
were
were
six max even more.
they
What
were
was it?
6 max. Yeah,
Yeah.
they were very fun, and everyone used to play them. And then I think some sample size came out with every reg and showed that just everyone was losing. So like, and one day everyone just stopped playing hypers and they basically like didn't do very well anymore. Um, a change we made at Party like 2 weeks ago was we realized that turbos and hypers are good tournaments and people enjoy them, but we also realized that people can't win in them, so we never really pushed them too much. But we came up with the suggestion is let's have hyper or turbo for like the start of the tournament and let people gamble and have fun. But when you get into the money, then we change it back to slower because
Mm.
I think if you're an amateur, like even if you want a fast tournament, once you're on the final table, you don't mind if it goes from 4 minutes till 8 minutes blinds. You know, like it's more serious for you. You know, like you have. It's like if you played chess. You know, like if you played chess, you want to play fast games, like you're blitzing around, taking pieces, whatever. But at the end game, you know, when it gets a bit more serious, amateurs will slow down in chess too. They won't just be like speeding, doing massive plays at the very end. You know, and I think it actually came after I was playing chess. Like I was playing chess, like I'm a complete amateur in chess, and I hated playing slow games. It was just like I
You
couldn't play
don't enjoy
slow.
playing against me
So I
then.
st- so I started playing fast games, blitz
Yeah.
games, you know, like 3 minutes and 5 minutes games. And I realized, wow, this is really fun. Like I'm doing action, they're doing action. They're not like thinking, they can't be using like a computer or anything like that, you know? But then at the end of the game, there was like no time to think. So I was like, well, at the end, I would actually enjoy to like think about how I can win this game or how I can enjoy the very end where we're
Interesting.
playing
Yeah.
for like the highest stakes. So in poker, I just kind of extrapolated it to the same thing. Okay, at the start, people like to have fun, but at the end, they still want to win money. They still want to enjoy the final table as well, you
Yeah.
know? So it's like you have the fast start, and then at the end, we just change the structure. So it's like fast at the start and then slower later, or hyper at the start and then turbo later, or turbo at the start, then faster later.
Yeah.
I think this is a way where we can actually make these
Yeah.
formats, which currently are not winnable, like the cooldown or Sonic or anything like this. They could be amazing tournaments. Like if you made the Supersonic, like a fastish structure once you're in the money, that could be like an amazing tournament. You know, like I would see myself. I never played like I haven't played Sonic for whatever for a long time, but I can see myself playing the tournament if I know that once I'm in the money it'll slow down. Then I
Yeah.
don't mind because
Yeah.
all EVs at the end of the tournament anyway, and
Yeah.
I don't mind gambling at the start either. Like it's fine. Like I like
Yeah.
to play fast as well. I'm not like a nit or anything. And it would also get the right people in the game. It would get people who want to gamble, but it would give people a chance to win, which is important for sure, like you said.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I think seeing other things from other industries, how they do things, and then maybe extrapolate into poker is like a good way too. You know,
I think
there's
it's
a lot.
just it feels very frustrating. At some point, recreation is when they really don't win anything. I mean, it's really hard for them to win any. anyway due to their lack of skill. But then also once the structures are getting worse and it's the variance gets to it reaches a degree where you can have 500 games in a row not cashing, or I don't know, 200 games, and then they also start doubting, and then it also starts raising questions in their shoes, like what's going on here? I can't win at all. But it's hard once the structures are getting so bad across all platforms, right? So
Yeah.
yeah,
I would
that's a good
also like
point.
to kill. I would also like to kill the myth that PSKOs are better for amateur players. If you look at every single professional poker player, 95% of them all do better in PSKOs than they do in normal tournaments at all field sizes, which means the amateurs are losing more. And the reason why is because, like, let's say an amateur wants to get good at poker, not even good at poker. Let's just say an amateur enjoys poker and like watches some YouTube videos of yourself or whoever else, every almost every content or every easy to digest content is all about normal ranges, normal free bet ranges, how to call all ins, how to call river bets. PSKOs is a completely different animal. Like it's a completely different game.
Yeah.
And amateurs have no idea how to play. Like I said this on Twitter, but if I set like a pre-flop spot, like in a normal, let's say a normal tournament, you open the button and I jam 30 big blinds from the big blind, most amateurs won't be far off with what they should call from the button. Like maybe they'll say like ace nine and king queen instead of like ace ten and king jack, whatever. Like they'll be like maybe one pip
And
off,
I'm
two pips off.
sitting there with king five suited.
Yeah, but that's the thing, right? In PSKOs, you may have to call king five, or you may have to call ace deuce, or you may have to call 5-6 offsuit. Like depending on what it is. And amateurs are going to be so far off in PSKOs compared to vanillas, so that there's this whole story that amateurs do way better in PSKOs than vanillas
I think
because
it's
like
not necessarily about that they do better, but I think they enjoy it more. And this is something I
they do.
don't agree with. I think that you're probably right. They do better in vanillas, but I think they enjoy PKOs more because I do believe that because stars and all the other sides, they are also of course after their profits, and that's totally all right. And I think they wouldn't push a tournament that wouldn't be so attractive. I mean, they tried so many different formats, beat the clock, and I think over the last 12, 24 months, we had so many different formats being introduced by PokerStars, and nothing has been really followed up. I think we had this um, how is it called?
Short
Three.
tracker.
No, not short tech. Like three card hold. Like you get additional card on the flop. There were
Yeah,
like so many
but
different
what about
formats.
what about normal poker? Why is the big 215 10K guarantee? Is it because people don't enjoy it? Because it's not true. Because we're at party, we did 50K guarantee and it hit 70K. Like people want to play it, but you need a guarantee to play it. Of course, if you
Honestly,
believe.
guarantees are important. I'm not saying the guarantees are not important. I do believe the guarantees are important. I just simply believe that recreationals or also a couple of regulars really love PSKOs. It's a new
Mhm.
format, and I
Sure,
also love it from the perspective of it gives everyone the opportunity to learn a new format really quick, because it's so difficult right now to catch, like when you're really good at vanilla poker, freeze outs, soft slow structures, 100 big blinds, 75 big blinds, it's so much tougher to catch up because right now everyone, even us, even though we study piece goes a lot, our knowledge is so little compared to what is possible, that once you jump in, you just need to understand some core principles. It
Mhm.
provides you an opportunity to have really good win rates, or let's say to beat the field without studying it over months. I would say that studying 2 weeks PSKOs very in depth will at least put you ahead of most players. When you understand
Mhm.
the rules, you understand some basic stuff in poker, and you have some basic understanding of ranges and preflop ranges, and you're not a complete whale in poker, but let's say you're a slightly minus EV player in freeze outs, and you study PSKOs really in depth for 2 weeks,
Mhm.
maybe 3 weeks, you're a winning player, a good winning player in PSKOs, because the majority have no clue how to approach PSKOs. And that's what I like. I like to see new formats that provides everyone an opportunity to catch up, to learn something new. Because also the old rusty players who are too lazy to learn new things are going to fall behind, and yeah, you see them dropping left and right like flies. So
Yeah, the nitty guys especially. Yeah.
especially the nitty guys. But I agree on the fact that recreationals, even though they might think, oh, it fits me gambling here, because there's so many spots where you think naturally, oh, this is a spot to gamble, but you're maybe just calling off one pip loser. As you said, like
Mhm.
in a freeze out, you call ace 10 off, and then there's actually a spot ace 9 off, especially on final tables, especially final two, final tables when you approach heads up. Then the game changes again, and I see so many players making huge mistakes and huge punts. Um,
Agree.
but I do believe they are very popular amongst recreationals.
So they're popular for sure. Like they're definitely popular, but maybe they're not as popular as they could be, right? Like they're losing
True.
at higher
Yeah.
rate. They're losing at
Yeah.
higher win rates against regs. The rake is twice as big because the sides rake the bounty part of the prize pool, which is all the players pool, and also it's a format which we don't think is necessarily good. Nine-handed, 250
Yeah.
big blinds deep. Sure, PSKOs are good, but maybe they could be way bigger. Like maybe they could be twice as big or three times as big. Like what if in 4 years' time we're still playing nine-handed, 250 big blinds bounty builders? Like maybe like like pros, amateurs, everyone could make way more money and would have way more fun if things were changed.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure how these changes will go about because it takes big balls from a side who has like shareholders and whatever else to do that kind of thing.
Yeah. So let's summarize. It's important that the games are being more tailored towards recreationals. PKOs need to be adjusted. They need to be more enjoyable. The re-entry structure needs to be revised heavily so that it attracts more player. And this also allows them to raise the guarantees. I mean, at the end of the day, it's important that it reaches more player in order to raise the guarantees. And something we're gonna try to give more input in the next couple of weeks as well. I mean, we have a Discord chat, right, where we debate on that kind of stuff. And I would like to also jump into a different topic and ask you something I receive a lot as well: staking or not. What's your take on that? Also, feel free to introduce your own staking group, BitB.
Hmm. Sure. I mean, staking or not, I would definitely say not. So like staking's very, very interesting subject. Like I've spent like 10 hours a day every day for the last 6 years in it, so I know it pretty well. Um, I've seen hundreds, if not thousands, of staking teams come around since, I mean, 13 years ago when I was starting to play, there was staking teams, like 10 years ago when I started to play a bit more seriously, there was staking teams. 7 years ago when I started to have like my biggest wins, there was staking teams. Like 6 years ago when I went professional or whatever, there were staking teams. Today, the staking teams, there will be staking teams tomorrow, 5 years, 10
Yeah,
years, very
yeah,
likely. Because the image of staking teams is it's a good way to make money because it's your subject that you know. It's like,
yeah,
let's
yeah,
say someone wins a Sunday Million and they have $100,000. Where do they invest their money? Do they invest in Amazon where they don't understand? Do they invest in Bitcoin where they don't understand? They think, no, like, I understand poker. I'm good at poker. I will invest it in an industry. It's a very logical way to invest your money. It's like, okay, yeah, like I understand the industry. I'm good at this. I know the people. I've seen their track records. Like this is great. But every staking team I've seen from 13 years ago till today, apart from maybe one, two, three maximum, they're all dead. They're all broke, and
yeah, yeah.
it's
It's
not
the
their own
tough
fault.
business.
It's just
Yeah,
it's a model which is like you can hardly make money on them. So like I've said it on Twitter, but there's basically free. If you want to stake a poker player, there's three different poker players you can stake. You can stake an absolute crusher, high stakes, like winning huge, not even high stakes. Just you can stake someone who's winning like huge ROIs, like 30, 40%, like someone like Lena, whoever else is just crushing really hard. So this is like category one. You then have category two, who's like very solid guy, like wins, 10, 15%, like has won at poker for years, studies a lot, it's really good. Or you can stake player number three, who's like a high volume player, very low variance, plays lots of games, has a decent ROI. So all these three players, they all have big problems. So the first guy who plays at who wins at a high percentage is how do you know he plays at a high percentage? If he's a crusher and you have a staking team, you have to be better than this guy to stake him because you have to be able to analyze and track his performance. Like, let's say someone was staking you for 5Ks on Party and Stars. How can they stake you for these tournaments? Because they don't know if you're good or not because they're not better than you, right? Like, how can someone who's worse than you say that you're good at the games? The only way they can do it is via data, via results. But in 1 year, you'll never have a sample size which will tell you anything reliable. Like, you could lose for the next 1 year in poker easily. Like, it's sample size,
yeah,
variance, like,
yeah.
it'll just happen. So then you have to look at bigger sample sizes, like 3 years, 4 years, 2 years, five
It
years.
changes too
But this,
much.
but things change too much. Like,
Yeah,
how do I? Maybe you studied 7 days a week, and maybe now you don't study anything. So you can't stake the guy with a really high win rate and push him up the stakes and push him on and on and on unless you're literally like the best player in the world or one of the best players in the world, because they will get to a level where either they can't move up anymore because you can't they're better than you and you can't analyze them, and then they'll either leave you, go to a different team, or you will be putting them into games where they'll be losing and then they will just end up dropping out, right? So you just can't stake really good poker players because it just won't work. Eventually, they will just go broke because they will move up and up, either to a level where you don't know what's good or not, or they'll be unsatisfied and want to play higher. So
Yeah.
like you can't stake really good poker players. So then we go to like the second guys, like the guys in the middle who win like 10, 15%. These guys are very dangerous guys to stake because usually like they'll play maybe 400 games a month, which is really a lot, really good. They'll win at maybe 10, 15% and play like decent ABI. So your yearly EV for this kind of guy is like 60K, right? So if I could tell you that I'm going to invest, money and get 60K back off one guy, that's like, oh my God, like, why would I put money into Facebook when I can make 60K off this one guy just by giving him money every day to play poker? But the problem is with variance is that every single poker player in the world is likely to go on a 1 year downswing in EV. So like I could lose in 3 months time. I could lose 1 year's worth of EV. So let's say my EV is 60K. I can easily lose 20K, 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 or 10K, 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 like 4 months, 5 months in a row. It just, this is poker. It will happen. And when someone gets into 1 year's worth of EV of losses, like they could have lost it only in 2 months. It's not like they've been losing for 1 year, but they know that, okay, for me to make this money back, I have to get lucky or I have to grind for 1 year. And neither of those are very attractive propositions for a stakey. Like they don't want to. It's very hard to wake up on a Monday morning after you've had another losing Sunday,
Yeah, yeah.
go back to the lab. It's really nice weather outside. Like the softest months are the summer. Your friends are going on holiday. You can't afford it, or you go with them and then you miss out loads of EV. So you can't stake this middle guy because eventually you can't afford him to run bad. Essentially. So then you
Okay.
have the last guy who's like the low variance, high volume, just amazing guy like Dream Horse. The problem with this guy is that everyone wants to stake him. So I want to stake him, you want to stake him, BBZ wants to stake him, Poker wants to stake him, and he knows, he sees his graph, he never loses because he will play in 1 month what the middle guy plays in 6 months. So like he will just grind out the variance, no problem. If he has a downswing, it'll take him 6 weeks to get out of it, no problem at all. But the problem is this guy can demand 70%, 80%. So by the time you give him this and you coach him and you spend your time and there's just no money left. There's just no money. It's not really attractive anymore. You may as well put your money on Amazon or Facebook or something.
Okay.
So staking is impossible. I generally think unless you're the best players in the world and have the best players around you, you just can't stake players because every single level, there's just two huge flaws. This is before people stealing from you. This is before
Yeah,
poker
yeah,
sites scamming you. This is before you get cheated on poker sites. This is before all of this stuff. Like there's so many external factors. Maybe like your account gets hacked. Like a Skrill account gets hacked. All sorts of stuff can happen. But without any of these shit show stuff, it's still not profitable to stake poker
Why
players.
do you still staking?
Once
Why do you still stake then?
Why? I mean, for us, we do it, but it's very tough. Like, if if we had to put our hourlies in, it would. I'm not sure how much money we make an hour by doing it. Like probably we would make more money by playing poker. The reason why I do it is because of the community, because how they push me and how I can push them. What I can learn now for future stuff. Like if I'd played poker until I was 30 and then quit, I would have a CV of playing poker.
Yeah.
Now I have the CV of running. Like an operation of like hundreds of players, hiring all these people, learning about how to deal with people, management skills. I've made so many mistakes and I've learned from all of
Yeah.
those. It means I won't make them in the next business. I will just learn so much stuff. It'll give me some. It keeps me it keeps me grounded. It makes me have to be a good poker player because I need to coach these guys. I need to be a level higher than they are. So it forces me to never take like a month off poker like I may do if I wasn't doing this. Um, I do it with like I'm fortunate to do it with two guys who are like two of my best friends. Like when we're doing a meeting, even if we're not making thousands of dollars an hour, we're talking and having fun together during this time. It's not like I'm working with someone who I'm not interested in
Yeah.
working with.
Yeah. I
We
could clearly
inspire
see
each
that.
other, or they inspire me.
Yeah.
Um, the guys. It's also really nice to see a guy. Sure, you'll have bad guys, but there'll be cases where a guy goes from playing $10 ABI to $200 ABI, and you can change people's lives too. Like they can
Yeah.
go from living in, let's say, Argentina in a really like tough situation to being able to travel the world, and make millions of dollars. You know, like you can put people on that kind of path, and that's almost a lot stronger
Yeah.
than making money. If we're talking about staking from a making a money point of view, I wouldn't suggest it. If we're talking about staking about maybe doing friendships and stuff, I probably wouldn't suggest it because if you get attached to someone, fucked up things can happen, and you
Yeah.
can lose trust in humanity and faith and friendship,
It's
etc.
still a
as well.
business, right?
It's a
You
business,
still
yeah,
need to
exactly.
make
Well,
decisions, maybe to drop someone, to cut the relationship, to kick him out of the stable. And as I
it's very
know,
difficult.
the requirements also for some of you guys who might be interested in joining the stable, by the way, I also share the same approach as Pat's, is that I do believe you should try it on your own because it teaches you so much more things about yourself, self responsibility. It's like school, right? When you drop out of school or out of college, you're used to that. There's someone that provides you with a schedule, someone that provides you content. You have these frames around you that will always make sure that you not get completely lost along the way. You have deadlines and exams, so it's very easy to get through a semester. But if you do it on your own, you're responsible for everything on your own. If you take one
Mm,
day off, there's nobody that's going to tell you, hey, you have to get up again and keep moving. No.
yeah.
So you have to do that for yourself. And I think for your self development, it's very important. However, I think it makes sense to join a stable and but also when you're in a stable to make sure to hold also yourself accountable and not put the responsibility on the stakers, coaches, or other people. That
Mm,
if in case you leave, and at some point it's very likely that you're going to be leave, that um, you're not be
dependent.
surprised or getting depressed about
Yeah.
suddenly having so much self responsibility and holding yourself accountable for basically everything. Um,
Yeah, that's something we've actually seen is that we will take like talented players into our stable and then we will give them like good habits, like we will teach them like, good volume, good discipline, good bankroll management, good like update, even like updating your sheet once a day is so tough. You wouldn't imagine like how many guys would just like
I
not update their sheet every day, like consistency, like good habits, all that kind of stuff. We try to like instill a lot of this stuff into people, and then they get to the top of BitB, and maybe they want to leave and play for 100% of themselves, but then
yeah
slowly the habits will slowly just disappear. And I would say that not. I don't think a single guy who's left BitB is like crushing now, and a lot of guys have left whilst they've been crushing, like making 300K a year. Maybe there's a guy who I just can't think of, but like maybe like 20 to 30 guys have left who've been making like more than 200K a year. I don't know exact numbers, but I think none of them are still doing it. And that's not because of BitB, it's just because it's very hard to do it by yourself, you
yeah
know? They will go on a
it's
downswing. Like, I was talking about we can't stake guys who will go on downswings. Poker players quit poker because they go on downswings and then they have no one around them and they're fucked mentally, Like,
yeah
it's very, very tough. Just imagine like a guy in Hungary, like where I am now, he doing really well in poker, he's up 200K, pushing himself, going to the next limits. Then he just loses like 50K, and he knows his EV is like 50K. It's very difficult to just keep grinding every day, like
yeah
$20 tournaments, $30 tournaments. It's just you need really strong people around you. Like every guy who's been successful in poker, I think, has had a strong group around him. Like you had the German group, like you guys, Fido and stuff. You have the Scandinavian group, like Lena and Darwin and these guys. You have I'm Box with the guys he's with. Like everyone who's successful has successful people around them. People are not just like maybe bring Kenny, like doing it by himself or something. But like it's very, very, very difficult to just be a solo guy. It's an individual sport or an individual game, but it's a team sport as well. Like
yeah
it's almost
100%
about who you have around you rather than doing it yourself,
yeah
which is people just don't appreciate it as much. I don't.
yeah That's true. That's what I
Yeah.
appreciate
But
also working so much with PP, even though I'm also getting a lot of questions. Hey Ben, would you like to do seminar or webinar or coaching? And I know it's so hard someone to match your standards that you have because I also have very high standards. And I mean, for how long are we working together now that I'm doing coachings and webinars for BitB? 3 4 years, I don't know.
yes, 3 years
So
maybe.
yeah, and I think it's because we have very similar standards and also expectations about each other's work, and we really value that. And I know it's actually, and that's why I appreciate it so much. And I try to put most of my attention, if I do webinars or coachings, to BitB, and that's
Yeah,
something.
it's great.
If
Guys
I
obviously love it too.
if I read through the Discord, like the channels, it's barely negative, it's barely toxic. And that's what pissed me off when I used to do coaching for profits, even though it's a great model and it can work out and also provides a good opportunity, I had to run after people to tell them to put their fucking numbers in an Excel sheet. It's like, what the fuck
Hmm.
are you doing here? This is
Yeah, it's
a once in a
frustrating.
lifetime opportunity, and that's frustrating. And I do
Yeah,
believe when it comes to building your team and building your own environment, it's not your opportunity to motivate people, it's your opportunity to find motivated people. You can't invest your resources and energy to constantly go to people, hey, come on, like put the numbers in the sheet, come on, you have to do it. It's your
for
opportunity.
sure.
Of course, we all have shit times and hardship, and sometimes we need a friend or someone to lift us up. That's all right. That's where I save my energy for someone who really needs my energy, who really needs my maybe my advice or my time just to be there to listen. I don't want to waste my time to tell someone putting the numbers in a sheet, right? And
Yeah,
then that's
yeah,
why I also realized, okay, stables, that's nothing for me. But I think you guys are doing really well because you also have really tough requirements in order to get into the stable, right? It's not so easy. What I think it's 1 in 100 or 1 in 1,000 of
no, like
applications.
one in a thousand or
One in a
something. Yeah,
thousand.
I think it's one in. I think we have one in every 250 winning players. So for every 250 winning players who apply, we take one guy on, and it's
That's
like
sick.
1 in 4 people are winning players. So it's like 1,000 people who apply, 250 are winning, and we take one out guys.
Okay.
Because for us, having a community is more important than everything. Like I said, we do it as well because we love doing the whole thing. I
Yeah.
want to wake up and enjoy doing it, and I'm very, very fortunate that all the guys we have, they're not just grateful and good guys, but they're inspiring. They're super hardworking. They have standards. Like I learn from them. Like we have blog section where people are updating their blogs, and I see guys. We have a guy called Francois who's just like, if he can do this, then I don't want him to be able to outwork me as well. Like
Yeah.
if we started having like winners but sloppy guys or winners but lazy guys, that would make me maybe think, okay, well he wins and he's lazy. I can do the same thing. Like
Yeah.
I want to have like a really strong community around us.
Yeah.
So
That's
yeah,
true. And I can see it also within Raise Your Edge, the people that I'm working with. It's like when you have your weak moment, your lazy moment, it's like, oh, but the others are probably all crushing it right now. They're working hard. They're doing
yeah.
something. Okay, get your shit straight and then start doing something. It's gonna be alright.
I
Uh,
actually get anxiety about it. Like if when I'm in Vegas, I don't go play live poker essentially because when I'm on a live stop, I can't really do so much studying, and I would
yeah.
be like in Vegas for like 2 months, and every day I would just be thinking, "Wow, Europeans at home running Sims," or "Wow, Elmerix is at home running Sims." Like by the time I get back, he's going to be ahead of me. Like and that like really makes me anxious. Like I just that's like my biggest fear that
Yeah.
like I've been lazy and someone else is outworking me where I could have just done the same thing.
Yeah,
It's
but
like my biggest
I
fear
mean,
I have, I guess.
it's important to also see the upsides of your trip to Las Vegas. You meet new people, you make new connections, maybe for business or your personal life. So of course, I mean, I had used to have the same anxiety as well. It comes from my childhood where I was always in a very competitive environment. Used to play football, and also my dad was really after my growth and trying to become better every single day, and was pushing me to practice. So I
Mhm.
was used to that from a very young age on. And today, when I take some time off, or now today it's better, but a few years ago, if I would just chill for one evening, I don't want to say I got anxiety attacks, but it's like, all right, now I'm sitting here on the couch. I know it's supposed to be good for me to take some time,
Yeah,
but I actually want to go back to the computer, run some Sims, or pull up
yeah,
HSC. And but I think
yeah. The
it's all right.
same
It's
for sure.
important to also sometimes take it slow, and today it's so much easier. I also had a mental coach with me that was working on that as well, because every one of us has stuff from childhood or past experiences that might you hinder. For some,
Yeah,
it's being too competitive, and then trying to slow it down a little bit, or any other kind of tragedies that are holding you back. And it's important to have someone, and it's not just some magical stuff. It's just sometimes it's important just to talk about it. Hey, okay, this was my childhood, that was going on, then realizing, oh fuck yeah, it actually had an impact, and this already made things so much better. And I still sometimes have this feeling it's never going to go away 100%, but I have a better relationship with that. Let's put it this
hmm
way. I'm not
makes
I'm
sense.
not
Yeah,
trying to fixing it or trying to deny it or stuff it down, because what you resist will persist ultimately. But I have a much better relationship with it. And today I
makes
can also
sense.
go on a vacation or come to Budapest for a few days, playing a few rounds of Werewolf and the bomb, and drinking a couple of shots, even though. Yeah. No. So good stuff. And what would you say to someone that try to become a professional poker player? I know actually I don't like these very generic questions as well, but based on your experience, based on what you have learned along the way, if someone now wants to turn a pro, what is this number one advice that you would give him if he wants decides, okay, I'm gonna, maybe he's playing part-time, he still has his job on the side, he makes a few $100 or maybe break even or slightly lose a player, whatever, and he says, okay, I'm gonna put some money aside, I want to turn pro. What would your advice be?
Yeah, I mean, I think I said it on Jamie Staples. I don't want to seem like I'm being biased, but I said I would probably save up money and buy like a course from Raise Your Edge and go into the Discord and
Okay.
try to find a guy, try to swap hand histories with guys, and if any guy sends you a hand history back saying well played, just like say thank you and just don't speak to them again. Because if you're at the stage where you're at, if someone sends you back saying well played to your hand history, they're one either too nice and won't be honest with you in the future, and you need honest people around you, or two, they don't know better than you, and there's just no point of working together, you know.
Yeah.
So try to get honest people around you who are critical but are supportive and not toxic. So like try to create a community around you. Like I said, if you're in Raise Your Edge Discord, I think I said this to Jamie, you'll be able to see who the toxic guys are, who the positive guys are, who the guys who are similar to you are. You know, like guys from the same country is often good because being able to meet up in real life is a very strong thing, I think. So yeah, I would try to get like a community around me.
Yeah.
Um, I'm trying to get a community around me to because maybe they see things. It's very hard to see your own faults. You know, like if you have a huge leak, it's because you don't know you have a leak, right? Like if I'm really bad at one thing, I don't know that I'm bad at the thing. Otherwise, I'd fix it, right? So it's hard to just go and study and be like, okay, I need to do this because I'm bad at that because you just don't know. It's like having other people to tell you honestly, because they're gonna have knowledge which you don't have, and you're gonna have knowledge that they don't have. You know, so I'd also say work hard and give people like good time. So if someone writes to you and sends you an hand history, really make sure that you do a good job and do an honest job back to them because people appreciate honesty. As long as you're like respectful, you can tell
Yeah.
somebody like this is really bad because like never just be like, yeah, this is shit. Be like, this is bad because this, you know, or I think it's not the optimal line because of this. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, we have guys who are doing this all the time, and it's very strong. We also have guys who are being very polite and friendly. And the guys who are aggressive and the guys who are respectful but aggressive, these are the guys who always will get to the top. Like I'm pretty sure Fido wasn't telling you, "Oh yeah, good sim Ben, good job." If he disagreed with you, he would tell you, "No, I think this or I think
Yeah.
that." You know. Same with Goosecore, same with Reiner. You need these kind of personalities where you're a nice guy, respectful, people like to be around you, but you also don't take bullshit and you
Yeah.
also don't speak bullshit. You know. So like that's why I would. I think there's too many of these like nice little poker groups, you know, little friends on Facebook, do a little webcam, tell each other everyone's playing great. Like, waste of time, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
You know, like
That's true.
get people who are going to tell you the truth. I
Yeah, that's true. I remember a lot of very heated conversations with Rainer and Brighton. It got sometimes
think.
very, very heated.
That's
But I think
that's good.
it might not be the most beneficial for our friendship, but I think for both of our um, learning curve, it was really helpful. I actually your advice made me a little bit uncomfortable because here on the Raise Your Edge channel, giving this advice, it sounds a little bit like a script, but I didn't expect
No,
it, so I really appreciate your
no,
advice
for
there.
sure, sure.
Um, Great. So, I'm gonna